we've got the Orlando Regional.
You're going to say the two. You're going to say the two. I thought you were going to say the Orlando two.
I knew I screwed up right at the beginning.
Hold on. Let's talk it out. Everyone calm. Hold on. I'll reset.
We should start over again.
Let me reset. I'm scaring our
guests. Now
guests.
I'm making a fool out of myself in front of Rachel.
Do you want to restart?
Yeah. We should restart.
Okay.
No, we'll keep
normally
it going.
we don't restart because I don't get to restart
You're
when
right.
I embarrass myself in front of my friends. I mean, this guy,
right.
he was about to pull the president card and be like, whoa.
You know what?
Let's restart.
It's the Orange County Regional History Center.
Boom.
But what I was going to say is we are very unique here in Orlando because we have a lot of Halloween-themed events and things going on more than other cities.
More than most.
Hey, like a lot of towns, they have one corn maze. And
right.
That's it.
That's true.
That's all they got.
That's true.
Yeah, a pumpkin patch.
I don't even like a corn maze. Are you guys fans of corn mazes? I'm not a...
I don't think I've ever done one.
You've never been? They're pretty... I mean, they're cool, but after a little while, if you're not getting out of it, you start to think that you're kind of dumb. And I don't think of myself as dumb. Like, I've done testing, a gifted program, the whole nine, but I got stumped. There was one in Daytona. Daytona used to have one. It wasn't a corn maze because we're in Florida. It was a wooden fence maze that some rednecks made by the Volusia Mall, and you could pay to go through the maze, and I was forever stumped.
With a corn maze, couldn't you just take a machete with you and just...
You could and hack your way out. You can see this.
You gotta just walk right through.
Yeah, you can't just walk right through it.
And nowadays...
This is the gentleman that hates fun talking. He's like, I'll just walk right through it and ruin it.
And nowadays you can have your cell phone. You're like, I see my blue dot. I'll follow it through.
That's a good idea. That's actually a really good idea.
You look at Google Maps. You're like, I see the overhead.
Yeah.
You're cheating.
Yeah.
So anyway.
What a time to be alive. You can use your phone to get out of a corn maze, and you can put an Apple AirTag on your ex-girlfriend.
Scotty and Rachel are here.
I would never do that, by the way. I would never do that. I just wanted to freak you guys out. That was a Halloween joke.
From the History Center, how you guys doing?
Good. How are you?
Good to see you guys.
So let's discuss all the different attractions we have in Orlando that are Halloween themed because
we're gonna do new and old today, right? We're gonna kind of go through all of them.
Rachel's a historian, so she's an expert in old.
Yes,
and we know some of the most famous ones. Obviously, the bigger Halloween Horror Nights and Mickey's.
I know the one that still owes me money, and that's Skull Kingdom. Skull Kingdom owes me money. Is that on your list?
It is, but wait, why does it owe you money?
Because Dave Balzini, that was the manager at the time, did
Let
not
it go.
sign me and Dracula's checks, and he was withholding them. He was withholding my checks, Scotty.
It was a radio promotion in the 90s.
Yeah, and not enough people showed up, and the manager, dressed as Dracula, was mad as hell. I've never seen a Dracula this mad. This was the maddest Dracula I have ever seen. He's like, you promised me 3,000 people, and I'm like, there aren't 3,000 people in Orlando. Not right now. They're not coming here. Not on Halloween night, brother. It's not happening.
So, Rachel, where should we start?
Yeah.
I think we probably can start with Halloween Horror Nights. That is technically like the first. So Disney did do some Halloween events before, but it was not on the scale of like a full park, right? So it was just kind of like, oh, you want to show up. This was like in the 70s. You want to show up to the park with your kids dressed up and watch like Sleepy Hollow, the cartoon. Let's do that. Cool. And that was kind of just it on Halloween. But when in 1991 is when Halloween, well, technically at the time it was Fright Nights.
Fright Nights.
Oh, yes. I remember Fright Nights.
Yeah. It was originally Fright Nights, and it was like a 3-day event, just kind of thrown together really quickly. But
it's like the show. We're the Fright Nights. We're the Fright Nights of podcasting.
Yeah, like, what do we got? We got Fright Night. Put it out there.
Put your headphones on, Scotty. Are you good? Let's go. Get them through. Take their money.
But it was extremely popular. So popular that the one dungeon, it was called Dungeon of, I don't know, was it Dungeon of Terror? The haunted house, the one haunted house, they had like a 3-hour line. Whoa. It was very popular, so they brought it back the next year, but they couldn't do Fright Nights because of copyright issue, because there's a movie called Fright Nights. There was also a lot of other copyright issues they did. Like they had a
scary movie too.
Yeah,
from what I remember.
Yeah, they had like
Fright
characters
Nights.
from The Exorcist in the first year, and they got like a cease and desist letter from whoever owned the rights to that.
This all cracks me up hearing this information, because you also talk about Terror on Church Street, which was like walking that copyright line with like everything in it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Terror had, which we've talked about before, and I was a huge fan.
Yeah.
And I only got to go twice. That's why I think I'm a huge fan, is that maybe I didn't go enough for it to build up enough of the so to me, I saw one time. The first time I went, it was great. The second time I went, it was beyond great. The second time I went was the scariest. The medical room, we've talked about this. And the dude's pulling out the intestines from the, this is fantastic. Yeah. But yeah, everything in there was loosely based on something else I knew of.
It's also, I imagine people were confused by the fact that you're like, oh, we just have like a possessed little girl here, and we're doing an exorcism, and they're like, no, this is you can't do this is a movie. Or we're like, well, hold on, this is a scary scenario. Like, how can you copyright a ghost or a demon?
Well, because
Rachel,
it was Reagan, from The Exorcist.
No, okay, well, that's what they went.
Oh my God, we just landed on the best costume ever. Australian breakdancer costume. Then you do the green makeup, and you're Ronald. No, then you're Reagan. You're Reagan. Reagan.
You're Reagan.
You're Reagan. There it is. Thank you. I knew we could. Hold on. You get this.
Or just Exorcist Reagan. Or Reagan.
If you carry it across, it gets it's bad.
It's also
scariest movie I've ever seen. I hate that movie.
When we talk about like the beginnings of Halloween Horror Nights and Fright Night, it's funny for us to think that they didn't foresee the amount of popularity and the money behind Halloween back then.
Well, it's kind of a naughty thing, man. Like, I think culturally we were a little more. I think everybody was a little more conservative, maybe. I don't know. Like, for my parents, it was like they had to, I grew up in the church, so I was, like, getting to go to the haunted house thing was like a luxury to me. My mom was like, okay.
The 80s and 90s where Halloween was for the kids. There was no adult market for it. Or at least at that time they didn't think there was. They were just like, oh, this is a kids' holiday. We're not going to make a big deal out of it. Like,
I don't remember my mom ever going to Fair Villa for, whatever costume she needed at the time.
Sure.
I mean, my mom, I don't think my parents ever dressed up. You're right. It was for the kids.
Yeah. Wow. And so as the popularity of Fright Night, and then I'm sure they're like, oh, there's some money here. We can make this bigger, right?
Yeah, I mean, you can go back even further and look at how the holiday itself has grown and changed over time. So, in the 1910s is when, Halloween is, you're not really trick-or-treating so much. You're just kind of like maybe having like a little fall festival, or you're having like a little Halloween like a private, party at someone's home. And there's costumes and stuff. But then you start seeing trick-or-treating happening after World War II. And that's also because in the early 1900s is when Halloween is also considered a holiday of like mischief and vandalism. So like kids are going out and like breaking fences and benches and just kind of terrorizing their neighborhoods a little bit.
That's the European influence. And we came back from World War II, and we had all the Krampus, and we got all these fairy tales, and we're believing in goblins, and what's the one you like to call ghouls? We're believing in ghouls and goblins now.
Imagine how mad those soldiers were when they got back from war, and then their kids are trick-or-treating. They're like, oh my God.
Well, I mean, my grandfather, when he got back from
shoveling something,
he needed a purpose, so he became a ruthless, bloodthirsty biker. Like a lot of that's what happened. A lot of them would come back and they thirst for adventure. So he got himself a Harley Davidson and he never looked back.
So
I made that up.
When did
never happened?
When did Halloween Horror Nights first start?
1991. That was Fright Nights, and then 92 was the start of Horror Nights as the name. Yeah.
Gotcha.
And now can you imagine the world without it now?
Yeah, I mean, 92, I remember when I was younger and like in high school, and Halloween Horror Nights was this like, I remember the urban legend of it because there wasn't, all there was is the news you could watch.
Right.
And I remember like people just talking about like, oh, they have people in coffins with roaches crawling all over them, and then like rats in the coffin. And then it was like this extreme thing to go see. You're like, whoa, like this is something unheard of.
Our very good friend Jim Colbert from the Jim Colbert Show, I believe, was barred and banned from Universal Studios property for having an altercation with the quote-unquote Universal Rat Lady.
What do you have an altercation
now, this one
about?
I didn't make up.
Yeah.
Apparently, Jimmy back in the day argued with some lady, the lady that dumps the rats in the coffin or something, and then he was escorted off property. I don't know. You'll have to ask him. You'll have to ask him about it. But yeah, there was a rat lady. They would do, I don't know. I don't think they do it anymore. Like, how many times a day do we say that? But I think it was a glass coffin, and you'd get in there, and they'd pour rats on you.
Yeah.
Well, there was a lady that it was an enclosed coffin, and there'd already be rats in there with her.
Oh,
and then
my God.
I think at one point it was like you would walk over it, and it, like this light would turn on, and you would see her in there.
Oh, that's
with
what
the
it
rats.
was then. Yeah.
And then eventually I think they had it above, like not that you walk on top of. And then they eventually stopped doing it for a number of reasons, one of which is guests are kind of crappy sometimes and ruin things.
Yeah.
Well,
And rats, though. You know, like just having rats on property, I feel like.
I'm sure.
Also, I like that I got that horribly wrong. Should have just gone with a historian, right? Like every time, go with a historian.
I'm sure PETA got involved.
Well,
They're like rats.
I think, if I remember correctly, I think they're probably her rats, right? Like those are her buddies. And this is like a gag. Right? It's like a carnival gag.
Yeah, but every once in a while you roll over, squish one.
Put it in your pocket. Don't let people see it.
So now, of course, we know what Halloween Horror Nights have turned into.
My God.
And just the business that it creates and popularity is insane. And it's probably, it would be considered the biggest Halloween attraction we have in Central Florida.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think someone told me, and I think I also read like a Forbes report that it makes basically it pays for itself, like, or like the whole like year's budget. And some of it is just on the alcohol sales alone, because alcohol is such a big part of Halloween Horror Nights. People like to get a little tipsy and get scared.
Yeah, they do. And,
I think that, though, I think it does sort of go hand in hand, because I think a lot of people, the allure of going out there is doing something that's like that you normally wouldn't do, and you need to, you know,
it is more of a
get an old-fashioned under your belt before you hit your first house. You know?
Of all the holidays, it is leaning more towards the party.
Yeah.
You know,
well, they all are. They all are, right?
Yeah, but the other ones, there's like maybe some religion involved and some other stuff.
Labor Day, I'm looking at
family,
you, Labor Day.
You know, like
you step it up.
You know, like Thanksgiving's like, family, don't get too. But
see,
Halloween's
Thanksgiving,
like,
I get blasted on Thanksgiving.
Yeah,
well,
everybody
Thanksgiving
does.
is the one.
Yeah,
I'm like, oh God.
But your grandma's there.
And then
it probably
you go
depends
out.
on your family, though.
Yeah,
because
that's
some
true.
families.
Are you from a small town at all? Or from
Yes.
around here?
I'm from Ocala.
Oh my God!
yeah.
You go back to Ocala the night before Thanksgiving, then you go out to all the bars. You're like, we're gonna go down to Spanky's. You go
With
down to
your
Spanky's.
family in some
Yeah,
cases?
and you go down there, and then you're like, "There's that bitch in the corner. I'm gonna go over and give her a piece of my mind." And you're drunk, so you go over there. And in high school, you were so mean to me.
So
you get them.
Rachel, was that kind of the start of the popularity of Halloween-themed events in Central Florida? Was like everybody saw the success of Halloween Horror Nights and then like jumped on board?
Yeah, and especially from like the bigger parks perspective, after that is when you have Mickey's Not So Scary, and the kind of growth of it was Shamu's Halloween Spooktacular at SeaWorld, and now they have Hallow Scream finally after a lot of years. It just recently started. But then you also have a lot of like indie things too, like a Petrified Forest is really amazing. And also, like you guys had talked about, Terror on Church Street, which also started in 1991, and Skull Kingdom as well. That was
Skull
96.
Kingdom was. I always felt like
that was a little different. It wasn't necessarily like a
Yeah.
Halloween themed thing. It was just like a spooky, scary.
Yeah, Skull Kingdom was a weird thing. The thing that it had going for it was its building, I believe. You know, the fact that it was
a cool building.
It was shaped like Castle Grayskull from He-Man almost, you know?
Yeah, what would happen inside? Why wasn't it a...
It was very much like Terror to me when I'd go through it. It was different rooms, different themes.
Yeah, I think it was different because so whereas Terror on Church Street, similarly, a year-round, what they call like a kitchen sink haunted house where they just have any kind of scare you can think of in there.
for it. A kitchen sink haunted house.
Yeah.
All right.
But it was geared more towards like locals because it was downtown, whereas Skull Kingdom was on like iDrive and was more of like a tourist trap, as you would say. But when it first opened, they had like no plans. The people that they just hired to be scare actors, they had to finish building the sets. They had no costumes, no masks. They just had like black T-shirts and do your own makeup and figure it out.
Yeah,
and
I wondered why it was just a bunch of regular people jumping around scaring me.
But
I was like, this is really scary. You know, like people are like, I'm going to kill you. I'm going to stab you. I'm like, whoa, man.
It's interesting they had no plan because they built the entire building to look like a skull.
Yeah, well, that was the plan. That was the plan.
Yeah,
ended.
But you think while the construction was going on, they would think to
Too
themselves,
hard. Have you ever built a skeleton castle? It's too hard.
When this thing is done, we should have some plan of what's going to happen inside the skull.
No, it was too hard to build the skull. Like we had it was literally every ounce of thought and energy we had went into the skull, and then we were done. We're like, I don't know what we're going to do, but at least we got this done.
During lunchtime, you're like, hey, let's go buy some costumes when the skull is done so we can scare people.
I do remember, though, that they seem to have endless money, and I remember doing a promotion with them because they did buy the radio station, as I told you in my horrible story, and I remember they had an airbrush artist that was phenomenal, but he was moonlighting between the beginning of Universal Studios and Skull Kingdom. So this guy was making bank. He'd go work Halloween Horror Nights at night, and then his day job was Skull Kingdom, which is pretty cool.
So
I don't think he was allowed to do that, really, but I'm not blowing up his spot.
This is not Halloween related,
okay.
But and I have no idea if this is true.
That's the topic of the show.
I'm getting a divorce, he said.
But
this is not Halloween related, but you look trustworthy.
I would make a large wager that in the late 90s there were a lot of money laundering schemes going on with particular like wrestling
Skull
events
castles.
and like anything cash that you charged like a cash entry fee for, and it was hard to kind of like, how many people came through here? Oh, a lot.
Right.
That's how I could justify this tens of thousands of dollars I made.
Sure.
And I seen it in the early 2000s with radio stations, and there was a lot of like promotion, and like I'd show up at events and there'd be no one there, and the promoters were happy. I'm like, why are you so happy? Because they laundered money.
Yeah.
There were some weird things back then where like if it was a cash ticket, there could be nefarious stuff going on.
I'm familiar. Let's talk a little bit about, you'd mentioned it a minute ago, the indie ones. Like, I'm very proud of and impressed with a Petrified Forest and the fact that they seem to get bigger and succeed. We have some, you've worked out with them. They seem like super nice, awesome folks that do it right, and they've been doing it for a minute. That's got to be hard as hell to do.
Yeah, they started, I think, in 2005, and they just started as like a out of their house, and they were like, oh, it'd be fun just to put on a neighborhood kind of haunted house thing, and tell your friends, and so many people came, and I think people started like giving the money, like, please do this next year, make it bigger, make it better. Not that it wasn't good the first year, so they did that, and it was so big that I guess the lines to get into the house and like cars were just kind of clogging up the neighborhood. So in, I think, 2007, they got like a designated property for it, and now have these like outdoor trails, and they have 3 trails that they do every year. Every year something, it's different. And also I was talking to my friend Nick, who does another podcast. He went, and they also do a Christmas version of like spooky Christmas trails too.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either.
I see it because it's near my house, so I drive by it often.
Yeah. Well, your house is in the Petrified. I didn't want to say that.
That's how you know you live in a good.
It's a little embarrassing. Yeah, it's a little embarrassing.
As you know, podcasting did well for me.
Yeah,
I live right there.
In fact, sometimes he has to go through the haunted trails to get into his driveway. It's uncomfortable.
So, and this
your wife's out there sunbathing. Go inside.
I've been driving by the Petrified Forest location for a lot of years, and
there's also, if you guys are in that neighborhood, there's an elephant ear lady.
That's down the road.
And the aqua frescas in his neighborhood are fantastic.
So, but every time I do drive by, I do think to myself, oh, they have done very well putting on the Petrified Forest,
and then
the holiday event, and they do an awesome job, and they have a bunch of stuff. Like, if you go through there, they have built that up a lot.
It's nice.
But I'm also reminded that every year that plot of land gets more and more valuable, and I'm sure developers are asking the people that own it, the ladies.
One of these days, it's gonna be a petrified high rise.
And then one day,
that's the real scary part.
Woo! Overdevelopment. Our aquifer is ruined.
They're gonna be
sinking.
forced to sell just because they're like, this is a lot of stuff to put together every year.
You're gonna be dragging a Jason. You're dragging 500 Jason masks in a bag back to your storage unit. You're like, I'm over. I'm done.
Now I hope they don't, and I hope that pure passion of putting it on makes them continue to do it.
Well, I said that about radio early on for me, and I've had it.
But So I remember doing radio promotions at the Petrified
They're
Forest.
good folks.
And they have a lot of volunteers to help put that together. And like, it's a well-oiled machine.
It's cool to
now.
see something where like I feel like the word of mouth for them is really good, and everybody's like, "Oh yeah, that place is great. That place is great." And it's not taking away any shine from the guys down the road that do it bigger and better and the best. But it is really, really awesome that they get their own like kind of spotlight. I think that's cool.
So back to SeaWorld. What SeaWorld's called? The Spooktacular, Halloween Spooktacular?
Yeah.
I'm done with the word spooktacular.
I am too, to be
We
honest.
need to get rid of it. It's just dumb. Spooktacular.
They missed a boat to do something to set themselves apart from what everybody else can do.
You put the makeup on the whales.
Okay. And
I've been wanting makeup on whales for years, man.
And
they can make it good. Like they can make it a kelp and stuff.
They have predators make them eat like gory human dummies, and they're ripping them apart.
Oh,
you know,
he's a gory human dummy.
No, but you know what I'm saying?
Oh,
Like,
you mean
they could have involved the animals to into the actual Halloween.
There would be a play that they could sort of do what you're saying, like where they throw like a cow carcass in there and let a killer whale do what a killer whale does, and that would be terrifying. I bet.
I mean, it doesn't have to be like it could be a Halloween.
Do it like that McKinley Castle place where they lock you in a coffin and they pour like a gallon of like.
Well, that guy actually like terrorizes
he
people.
Does,
like that's actually
it just reopened. Did you?
Did it really?
Yeah.
Oh, I did not think.
I think as of yesterday,
No,
it just reopened.
That's
You have to get a sports physical before you do.
Oh my gosh!
And no one's ever completed.
That's terrifying right there.
Yeah, they lock your head in a bird cage and then they start throwing feces at you.
Although
it's wild.
I'm convinced that all the people that participate, they know, and then they just use it as a media thing because, like, I don't think they're bringing in strangers and then doing that
No.
because
I go one step further. I think if you went to it, you should lose your job and be shamed on the internet.
So, Rachel, what else that we haven't talked about today?
One is Gatorland. I think Gatorland gets overlooked a lot. So the guy that runs Gators, Ghosts, and Goblins, or Gators, Goblins, and Ghosts, I can never keep all the G's in the right order.
Right.
But his name's Dan Caro. He started doing like scare acting and stuff at Terror on Church Street, then went to Skull Kingdom, then went to what is now Morta Manor, but it was the Legends before that. He was part owner there, and now he's doing the Gatorland Halloween event, and he's so skilled in what he does. The Gatorland little haunted house that they have is so impressive for being basically like a 2-people job on a shoestring budget.
Yeah.
I went through like a little walkthrough with him because I did an oral history with him.
Awesome.
And it was so well done for them having like thrown it together in like 2 months essentially. It was phenomenal.
They're so creative out there with Savannah and all the other folks that she gets to work with out there. They work really hard, much like Petrified, to keep themselves in the action. I think that's cool.
They really tie in a lot of like theater into it as well. It's really, really phenomenal.
That's cool.
And again, with Gatorland,
Gators are scary.
They should involve the gators in some way.
Well, the haunted house is on like the boardwalk above the little gator swamp. So sometimes you're walking through this dark, scary thing with all these jump scares, but then you hear like a gator below you, like growl and bellow. Yeah.
Making those weird gator noises. I can't do it. I can't do a gator noise.
I thought that was perfect.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Scotty.
I'm just saying,
that's cool.
Have the gate. You could paint a couple gators black and orange. You know, that's fine.
Okay,
You use the hair stuff.
I don't think we do black and orange anymore. I am of the take, after walking around Baldwin a little bit, that we are now on the color. If you're doing colors, it's just for lighting. It's purple and orange.
And green, like
yeah.
lime green.
Yeah, lime green. She's right. Historian.
Well, it's hard to have. Like the black light is purple. So
that
it's
works.
kind of, which I always hated they call it a black light because I'm like, it's purple.
It's a purple light,
obviously purple.
They gave out those for Orlando City. You know, it was like turn the city purple.
I still have mine.
And then I still have mine too, but I switched it to a regular bulb because it just made my teeth look horribly yellow every time I walk outside. You just see my butter teeth. I'm like, I gotta get rid of that thing.
What about Hollow Scream in Busch Gardens?
Yeah, so Hollow Scream started at SeaWorld here in 2021, which is very late compared to all the other Hallow Screams at, Busch Gardens and such. What you said earlier about the, having the whales eat like a cow carcass and stuff for the Spooktacular, I thought that was funny just because the Spooktacular is like the day event that's more geared towards kids. So having, all the animals like do terrifying, like gory things would be kind of hilarious.
That would be hilarious.
Would not fly.
Yeah.
Maybe
a lot
save
of
that.
flies, too.
Maybe save that for Hallow Scream.
Okay. Fair.
Yeah.
Fair. I've never been to the one at SeaWorld.
I'll be honest, I haven't, and in my lunch and learn where I talked about this, the one question I got was which is your favorite? I'd never actually been to any of the scare events. I did a walkthrough with Dan at Gatorland, but that was a behind the scenes thing. I'm actually I'm a scaredy cat, and I'll talk about it, but like actually going through it, I'm like.
I have a lot of friends that are like that. My wife's former boss loves Halloween Horror Nights and does a tour every year, but it's the tour with the lights on. She's never been through one haunted house. Not even one time.
I've ruined this for myself.
Well, you do that a lot.
Yeah.
He likes to take things that he loves and then ruin them.
It's like I remember as a kid going through haunted houses and actually being nervous. I was like a young kid. But
what'd you do to sniff ammonia?
It was when
Aaron
I just do not believe. Like I can't get beyond like knowing that they're just paid, people that are scary.
What about like a jump scare though? Like you can't even. Like, if they jump scare at you, you are
I'm
not scared, and you're like, I expected that. You were being paid for that.
I agree with that.
I mean, I know this is coming from the guy that, screamed about a spider. By the way, my wife is still getting me with that spider. She put it in
she pranks him all the time with that spider. Yeah.
My drink fridge.
She's trying to get you to knock it off. This guy's all, But maybe that's a sign. My wife's always putting spiders in my alcoholic cabinet.
If I'm expecting the scare, like if I'm walking through a haunted house, I know someone's going to jump out and scare me, then I am not scared.
Right.
I cannot be scared if I'm expecting.
But you let your guard down at your house because that's your safe space.
Yeah. Well, of course. I mean, everybody could get jump scared.
I got you.
So your wife needs to make a haunted house in your house.
No, but then I'll expect it.
Didn't you want to do a haunted house? And we found out from our attorney that we probably shouldn't do that because didn't you used to do that? You used to do like a set up refrigerator boxes and have your kids walk through it.
That Jimmy used to do the actual. I did one for COVID one year, but I didn't do it for the neighborhood kids.
It was just him in a box and kids walk through and he'd cough on them, give them COVID, get them sick.
But Chris Oz talked about like setting up a haunted house in the backyard. I'm like, there's not enough people. That come through my neighborhood.
We could do it here. We could do it around here.
Well, there's too much. You need to find a sweet spot of because you did it here, it would be never ending.
You could never shut it down. Yeah. This was the 13th most popular Halloween destination. I guess it made a list like last year. I don't know about it this year, but it goes up and down. Yeah. Scotty, do you have a favorite Halloween attraction in Orlando? Since we are kind of blessed having all of these cool Halloween attractions.
No, I mean I have having worked at Terror, I have some nostalgia for that, but probably for different reasons than people who went through it. But I enjoy going, to Halloween Horror Nights if I have that fast pass, because I think the most terrifying thing about it is standing in crazy long lines.
Yeah,
but
it's only getting bigger because the event is just, every year.
Yeah.
And now with the year-round installation in Vegas that they're doing, so it's crazy. Yeah, they're always throwing something else out there.
Even though we do have a lot, I am curious to why we don't have more because of their success.
I'm surprised we don't have a year-round like Vegas does. I really am.
Yeah.
Because I think, in a lot of ways, we get more people that come here and want to party, right?
I think now with Epic Universe, we're going to have, a horror park, right?
Yeah.
That has, a lot of, the classic horror monsters.
Movie monsters,
Yeah. So I think that'll kind of be, an element of, a year-round thing at a big park.
What's the place where are adults going for the big party? Like back in the day,
the Woodshed.
Church Street was
going to the Woodshed.
Really? Back in the day, Church Street was, and then Parliament House was for a lot of people. But that's demise. But is there a signature
he
party?
Used to
like
host the biggest party. Really? For the longest time, Tom was the host of the downtown Orlando the Church Street parties.
Yeah.
And you'd be up there with the DJ, and like that was cool, man. I used to love it. That was one of the parties that I used to enjoy, even if I wasn't dressed up. If I knew you were working, I would just pop down there just to hang out, because I just like seeing, even if you weren't dressed up, the people the professionals would show out. You'd get the guys on stilts. You get like. One time, one of the saddest stories you ever told was that lady in the Avatar costume.
Oh, yeah. Well, the professional, this just goes to show you how you could influence. The crowds want to ruin things like
They do.
costume contests, and then there's like, there was a guy in a King Kong outfit with planes that he had flying around his head.
Cool.
Yeah.
In some sort of mechanical
like
contraption.
On small wires where he had engineered it with small motors and batteries and lights.
And then
it had the crossing lights,
Yeah.
Professional avatar lady.
That lady she had the shiny aspects on it. She had a tail that was connected to a wire, the Navi tail.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
Yeah. No, I mean, 100% movie realistic professional avatar.
Hours.
There was an Iron Man suit from like.
Oh, his face would open up. You're right.
So some guy was a huge Iron Man fan, built an Iron Man suit. He's like, they put me in the New Yorker. He showed me the article.
Yeah.
And then
wait for the punchline.
I'm going through all this, and then the crowd reaction. Like it was up to the crowd and then there was a drunk frat boy with a sloth mask and a Superman shirt.
A rubber sloth mask.
And then every time he got on the stage, he would say, "Hey, you guys," and the drunken crowd would go crazy, and they gave him the $3,500.
It always works like that. It always works like that.
The King Kong guy took off his head, mad, yelling at the promoter.
The
Avatar.
I can't tell you what Avatar was yelling at you. She was yelling at you because I was there.
Yeah,
the Avatar lady was straight up cursing him out, like. I can't believe, and he he's like, look, I let them decide. I didn't.
Right.
I was like, go out on stage and spit in their face. I don't care. I'm like, lady, I get paid $300. I'm a poor intern.
This was his nut. He's making his Christmas money, man. And this lady's yelling at him, and I'm just standing there as his boss drinking a beer.
I'm just saying, who do you want to win? It's the crowd. If you wanted to get, I'm not giving it to anybody else because the drunken crowd is going to rush the stage. Anyway.
But that party was fun, man. That was a good party.
Yeah, and
those downtown parties are amazing.
I think to answer Scotty's question, not only do we have so many different things, it has, I feel like, evolved into more of a house party situation, and then with a lot more people caring about taking their kids trick or treating. It's not like it was back in the 80s where they just have fun.
While we have intelligent guests here, can I ask them a question? I've been saddled with something that I'm a little concerned about. My wife said to me that she wants to let Maisie just go trick or treating alone.
Okay,
because Maisie asked. She didn't ask me. She asked her mom. I know why. Because she knows I probably would say no.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I don't know where I stand on that. She wants to take off on her scooter and just hit the houses she wants to hit.
Well, she's a radio star now, and I feel like she's ready to maybe light out on her own.
Yeah, that is true. That's true. I hope she is.
How old is Maisie now?
9. That's young, right? That's too young.
I feel like that is young. I mean, I trying to think of my trick or treat, and that was back in the day when it was like the parents were just like.
I think I went around 9 or 10. I think I did on my bike. I think I hit on my bike and headed out to Land, Florida.
I trust Maisie more for being alone than both of us.
He's told me that.
You send me out alone.
He's trying to swap us out. The same last name, the checks, it'll still go to the account.
I'll see drugs on the floor. I'll pick them up and take them. I was like, I can't take care of myself. So Rachel. Is there any, besides from the new theme park opening, do you see any future Halloween theme, anything?
Didn't we have a Halloween bar here at one time?
There is
Cocktails and Screams. It's a Halloween, horror movie.
Right? Pine? I think it's on Pine.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of fun. Like you drop by with your wife or significant other, you hit up a Halloween themed bar. I like that.
And it's open year round too.
Okay, cool.
I don't know. I mean, I'm not like a fortune teller. I'm just a past teller.
Yeah. Tell him.
But I think what I'm kind of noticing, and maybe this is just me getting older, but I think other people are kind of seeing it too, is that Halloween's always kind of been associated. I think what you were kind of talking about earlier of how it used to just be in the 80s and 90s, how it was like, you go trick-or-treating, whatever, but now there's this adult push of really celebrating Halloween. But I think now it's kind of becoming more like corporatized, and these big, theme parks. We do have our little indie spots, which are great, but even I feel like people aren't getting as excited about it anymore for whatever reason, whether that's just outside world stuff going on.
I feel like we're going through the motions now. I feel like everybody's going to their garage. You get out your 30-foot skeleton that everybody has, and you put it up, and nothing's unique, nothing's handmade anymore.
Yeah.
Just put up your 30-foot skeleton.
Where are people keeping this stuff? Like,
the 30-foot skeletons?
Crystal,
my neighbor has 5.
Crystal bought 2 skeletons the other day, and then she's like, look what I got. And I'm like, where are we going to keep this stuff? I mean, like, now we have 5 Halloween
bins.
Put
it by your pool.
But I'm like, we can't fit it anymore in our garage. And then now with all these decorations, we're like, people are going to, like,
do you guys decorate for Halloween?
No, my roommate that used to live with me, she just moved out, unfortunately, but she used to super decorate, and it was nice and cute, but we just shoved everything in the garage.
Yeah, I have hologram pumpkins that I put out every year that they sing songs. They're very cool, and I have a smoke machine. I do it upright. And I dialed it in last night. I even use low-lying fog and ice to keep my fog low on the ground. Yeah, I got all the real stuff. I did it last night. It's all ready to go. I'm going to add 1 extra song this year. I'm adding Rob Zombie's Dracula. I'm going to add that. I'm adding Dracula this year, so come on by.
Well, Rachel, Scotty, thanks so much for coming by.
It got me excited for Halloween.
Yeah.
Favorite Halloween candy before you guys go?
And
least favorite.
This is going to be
Do
controversial because I do like candy corn.
I get into the we have to get it out of the house. I like candy corn too.
Yeah,
I do.
People are down on it, but I love it.
I really liked the like pumpkin. It's the same thing, but the pumpkin shaped candy corn.
That was my father's favorite. He would bite the stem off of it and eat the big pumpkin. Yeah, he loved them.
Yeah, but I like ate so much of it when I was in high school. Like me and my best friend, we had like big bags of it, and we'd keep it in our book bags, and then just like eat it during the day. And I got sick.
Yeah, it'll make you sick.
And I look at them now, and I'm like,
it's rich.
Growing up, though, it was always like, when you separate your trick or treat candy, because of course they had to go through it because there would be razor blades and everything, right?
Oh yeah.
And but the chocolate was just the coveted, like, oh, these people know what they're doing. They gave me chocolate.
Yeah. And then you go to the houses that give out the full size bars, the rich people.
And every once in a while, the guy who gives you a toothbrush. Did you have
the
that?
dentist would do that.
We had a guy in our
or a cellophane with a little ribbon on it with 3 pennies in it.
right.
Like the old ladies that would do that, that's dementia. You don't need to be doing that. And then like my favorite, let me give you some guidelines before we go. Don't be giving out Feastables. Nobody wants that garbage chocolate. You got to give out
my sons do.
It's terrible.
I buy them at 7-Eleven.
No, it's so terrible. Don't buy that.
I tell the 7-Eleven employees, they're like, what is this? And then I'm like, it's
knows.
a YouTube star. They're just reselling Chinese chocolate. I'm telling you, they're making billions. Well, my son makes them happy. I'm going a little bit, on a different path this year.
Okay.
And I found these in China. You can still order them.
What are you giving out?
Old school candy cigarettes.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
And the
first poof is dust.
The first poof
is a good one.
Sugar dust.
Sugar dust.
You have to push
Where
it out.
did you find those? Those are outlawed.
You can look them. You can find them in Temu.
Do you remember those guys?
Yeah, I do.
The first poof would blow out smoke. I remember I tricked my mom with that. She's like, "Oh my God!"
My grandparents would hate it when we get those, so that it made it even more fun to get them.
Yeah. And then they're wrapped in paper, which you have to peel off. And there's still some paper, and then you eat that, and then the gum is horrible.
The gum is horrible.
I mean,
if you wet it enough, it will chew. You gotta wet it. You gotta soak it.
It's dry.
You gotta soak it like you're soaking paperwork that you want to disintegrate in a barrel.
I'm pretty sure they're still left over from the 80s when they were made. It was just 48 years later.
Oh, they'd never update it. Just keep it on the warehouse shelves.
But I'm very happy to give those out to everybody coming by my house.
We're not doing candy this year. We're giving out straight Chinese plastic. My daughter figured out that little kids, they get so much candy from their helicopter parents and from their teachers that it's not a thing anymore. So we give out those little erasers that like break. Oh, here's something we gave out last year. This is one of the toys we gave out last year. This is a Chinese toy you can get. It's a little toilet with a turd inside.
This is brilliant, by the way.
And we gave these
my
out,
sons
and
would
the
like
kids
this more.
freak out. They get there, and then they're like, all the kids, they run out there like, I want a toilet. They're all screaming. They're skibbity toilet this, skibbity toilet that. They love the little, and it's an eraser, so you can.
You're right with candy.
Yeah, they get too much candy.
We've diluted the market with
candy. Now, my daughter will come home. She's like, a whole bag of candy. I'm like, what'd you do? She's like, I just did what the other kids weren't doing.
Yeah. They're bribing them all day with candy.
She's just she's just like, oh, Maisie, you're doing the good stuff. Here's some toys. She brings home all the candy.
Because they learn, they're like, if everybody's quiet at lunch, everybody gets some candy. If you're just bribing them all day, so they'll be quiet. Then they get home, their belly's all full of candy, and they don't eat anything. Oh, thanks a lot.
It's true.
What happened to slapping their hands with a ruler?
I know.
Like,
or screaming at them. You can't even scream at them anymore. Like yell at them, make them cry.
Anyway, Rachel, Scotty, thanks so much for coming by.
We appreciate you putting up with us, y'all. Anything else we need to plug?
Just the Orange County Regional History Center, thehistorycenter.org.
Yes, sir.
Just become a member. That's the easiest way. They have awesome exhibits every year, and go
see the polar bears.
That we talked about that last time. Yeah.
Report back. Go see my friends, the polar bears.
And we will see you tomorrow.
Awesome. Lunchtime? Or are we doing another segment?
No. That's it.
Guys, we'll be back.